The Zombie Who Fell in Love with a Human, a zombie romantic horror thriller. In a world where the undead roam free and love is a distant memory, one creature dares to feel again. The virus didn't just end humanity, it ended hope. The cities are in ruins and the nights belong to the dead. Survivors hide in silence, clinging to life and each other. But deep in the shadows of a forgotten hospital, a strange being awakens. Not just with hunger, but with feeling. Elian, a zombie unlike the others, remembers who he once was. He doesn't crave blood, he craves connection. And when he sees Lena, a strong and stunning survivor, something impossible happens. His heart begins to beat again. Lena is fierce, beautiful, and lost in a world of violence and betrayal. But when she meets Elian, something forbidden sparks. Their connection is dangerous, seductive, and undeniable. As love blooms between human and monster, 5 couples in a survivor camp fight to protect what little warmth they have left. But whispers of intelligent zombies spread like wildfire, and not all of them believe in peace. Will love survive in a world ruled by death? Or will their hearts become the next victims of the undead? Welcome to a story of passion, survival, and a love that refuses to die. The Zombie Who Fell in Love with a Human, only on the Zombie Story Zone.
To the Zombie Story Zone, where the tales of the undead are widely known. Join the hunt, uncover the fight in the Zombie Story Zone. We'll survive.
The world had ended quietly. No firestorm, no warning. Just the slow, creeping decay of everything people once held dear. Cities collapsed, power faded, nature reclaimed the roads, but the dead, they remained, wandering, waiting, hungering. In the ruins of a broken hospital, far from the last surviving camps, something stirred. A creature sat in silence on a rusted gurney, his skin pale and cold, covered in cracked veins and old blood. A deep gash cut across his chest. His face was gaunt, jaw slightly slack, eyes like cloudy glass. His clothes were torn, stained with memories of a past life. This was Elian. But Elian was not like the others. Inside the withered shell of his body, something pulsed. A dull throb, a flicker, a strange ache that wasn't hunger. It was deeper, sadder. It was longing. He didn't moan, he didn't lunge. He sat every day watching the broken windows, listening to the wind, trying to remember what it felt like to be alive. Then he saw her, Lena. She appeared like a vision from another lifetime, strong, fierce, and heartbreakingly beautiful. Her brown skin glowed under the sun, her eyes alert and sharp, her figure curvy and powerful beneath her leather vest and tight black pants. A shotgun hung across her back like a lover she never let go. Elian didn't know her, but he felt her. As if some part of his soul, the part that still remembered music, warmth, laughter, recognized her immediately. He staggered to the shattered window and watched her walk. She moved with purpose. Every step echoed with survival. Her ponytail swung like a whip of fire as she stepped through the broken hospital gates, scanning for supplies. Unaware that she had just awoken something ancient and desperate in the creature watching her. Elian's fingers curled against the glass. "Beautiful," he whispered. His voice cracked like dry paper, but it was the first word he had spoken in months. His heart stuttered once. Slow, heavy, unnatural. He wasn't supposed to feel. He wasn't supposed to want. But there she was, and the world shifted. Elian didn't know what this meant, only that he had to see her again. And Lena? She paused for a moment in the hallway, as if sensing something behind her. She turned, slowly, her gaze drifting toward the window where Elian stood hidden in the shadows. Their eyes met, just for a second. Lena's breath caught in her throat. She saw something in those pale zombie eyes, something impossible. Not hunger, not rage. But sadness? Then she was gone, disappearing into the hallway, boots echoing on tile. And in that shattered hospital room, the zombie touched his chest, where a faint, steady thump now lived. The dead didn't feel. But Elian did. And it was only the beginning. Beyond the smoldering city ruins, hidden deep in the overgrown woods, a survivor camp stood like a fragile heartbeat in a dying world. The fences were made from scrap metal and rusted cars. Solar panels powered dim lanterns that flickered through the night. Inside, life was raw and real, patched with hope, bruised by fear. But love still lived there, even in whispers and stolen touches. This was Camp Ember. 15 survivors called it home, some hardened by war, others clinging to the last threads of humanity. But at the center were 5 couples, each bound by passion, loss, and desperation. Once inseparable, now split by silence. Kyle had been Lena's first love, the cocky hunter with the deep voice and firm hands. But something in him had changed. He grew jealous, controlling. He didn't understand why Lena went on solo missions or why her eyes no longer searched for him when she returned. The spark was dying, and deep down, Lena knew she didn't miss him the way she used to. Their love was wild, unapologetic. They stole kisses under gunfire and laughed after every close call. Maya was stunning, tall, dark-skinned, with tight curls and a devilish grin. Dex, a brawny mechanic with sleeve tattoos and a silver tongue, lived for adrenaline and her touch. They were chaos in human form, and they wouldn't have it any other way. Nora and Jessie. Nora was the camp's mind, a sultry redhead with curves that turned heads and a brain sharp as broken glass. Jessie was the soul, silent, watchful, always perched in the sniper tower with his scope. He'd lost his family. Nora had lost her faith, but when she touched his cheek, he felt alive again. They didn't say much. They didn't need to. Tasha and Ely. Tasha was bold, caramel skin, tattooed, with a killer smile and a faster trigger. Eli was calm and built like a tank. When she teased him, he softened. When she cried, he held her like the world was ending. Together, they were a storm and a shelter. They spent nights in a tent by the lake, stopped whispering about a future that still seemed impossible. Kara and Zane. The youngest, barely out of their teens. Zane still wore a bandana like he was in a boy band. Kara had a dancer's body, graceful and tempting. They were always kissing, behind tents, in towers, even during patrol. Their love was pure flame. Naive, maybe. The camp was safe, for now. But whispers grew louder. People swore they'd seen zombies standing still, staring, almost thinking. Eli found claw marks on the outside wall, too deliberate to be random. Nora intercepted a note left on the north fence, written in blood, "We remember." And every time Lena stepped beyond the walls to scavenge herbs or gear, she felt eyes on her. Not wild, not empty, but watching, curious. She didn't speak of it, not even to Kyle, because every time she thought of those eyes, they weren't terrifying, they were familiar. She remembered the hospital, the cracked window, the dead man standing in the dark, whispering a word only meant for her. And her heart, no matter how much she fought it, whispered back, "Go back." The forest was quiet. Too quiet. The moon hung heavy and full, casting a silver glow over the canopy like a ghost lantern. Wind whispered through the trees, rustling leaves with secrets long buried. Lena moved carefully, every step calculated, every breath measured. She wasn't afraid of the dark. She was afraid of what might be waiting in it. She had ventured out alone again, this time to collect fever root for Tasha, who had fallen ill. It was a risky trek, especially past midnight, but Lena was always the one who took the chances, always the one who refused to let others die when she could do something. Still, something felt off tonight. The forest felt aware, a soft crunch behind her. Lena froze. Her fingers reached for the shotgun strapped across her back. "Who's there?" she called out, spinning on her heel. Nothing, just shadows and trees, and then he stepped out. From behind a twisted oak, his figure slowly emerged. Elian, taller than she remembered, shoulders hunched, jaw slack, but his eyes, those strange, cloudy eyes, locked onto hers like a magnet to steel. She didn't move. Neither did he. The forest held its breath. Then he spoke. "Please, don't be afraid." Lena's heart slammed in her chest. A zombie just spoke to her, clearly. Not a groan, not a growl. Words, real, broken, human words. "What are you?" she whispered. Elian stepped into the moonlight. His skin was gray, worn, torn in places, but his hands stayed lowered. No threat. Only sorrow in his face. "I don't know anymore," he said. "I remember things. I feel things. I see you and it hurts." "Hurts?" "I wasn't supposed to feel, but when I saw you," he stepped closer. It was like waking up from a nightmare. Lena held her ground, torn between fear and fascination. "You're a zombie." "I was. Maybe I still am. But I don't want to hurt anyone." He looked down, ashamed. "I just wanted to see you again." Lena's breath trembled. Her hands lowered the gun slowly. Most zombies were monsters, mindless, hungry, violent. But a lion? A lion was looking at her like a man who hadn't touched warmth in 100 years, and she couldn't explain the way her stomach flipped when he said her name. He hadn't said it aloud, but it felt like he had whispered it to her soul. Why me? She asked. Because when I saw you, I remembered love. Her lips parted, stunned by the rawness of his voice. Her instincts screamed at her to run. But her heart? Her heart wanted to stay, so she did. They sat on a fallen log beneath the stars. No words for a while, just the sound of wind and the slow creaking of trees. Elian didn't touch her. He didn't dare. But when their hands brushed lightly, just fingertips, Lena didn't pull away. She looked at him, truly looked. Past the dead skin, past the sunken features. There was a man inside, and he was staring at her like she was the last good thing left in this broken world. And in that moment, Lena wasn't afraid. She was curious, and dangerously close to something forbidden. Lena hadn't told anyone. Not Tasha, not Dex, not even Kyle, though he'd already sensed something was off. She kept her midnight meeting with Elian locked deep inside her, like a dangerous secret she didn't fully understand. But the memory lingered like heat on her skin. The way he'd spoken, the way his voice trembled with regret, with longing, with something impossible, and the way her heart had raced, not with fear but curiosity. She was trained to kill zombies. She had done it hundreds of times. But Elian wasn't like them. His touch hadn't been cold. It had been gentle. And for a brief, forbidden moment, it made her want. Back at Camp Ember, tension was rising like smoke from a dying fire. Maya and Dex had gotten into a screaming match after Dex found a bloody handprint on the edge of the camp's water tank. "It's not human blood," Maya had said, voice shaking. "It's old, rotten." "Then what the hell is it doing here?" Dex snapped, gripping his wrench like a weapon. "Zombies don't just leave warnings." "But maybe this one did." Lena said nothing. She stared into the fire, her thoughts far away. Her fingers brushed her own wrist, remembering the ghost of Elian's touch, how his skin had felt papery but warm, how his voice had trembled when he said her name, like it was sacred. She shouldn't be thinking of him. She knew that. But she was. That night, she returned to the forest. She didn't even realize her feet had carried her there until she was standing in the same moonlit clearing. "Why did you come back?" Elian's voice echoed softly from the shadows. Lena turned. "I don't know." He stepped forward, slower this time, as if afraid he might scare her away. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered. "If the others find you, they'll kill me," he said flatly. "I know." She looked into his face, half human, half ruin, and saw something breaking beneath the surface. Grief, shame, desire. "I've killed your kind before," she said, her voice low. "I didn't hesitate." "You should kill me now," he said. "But you haven't." And she didn't know why she hadn't, or maybe she did. Lena stepped closer, closing the space between them. The air grew heavy, her breathing slowed. Elian's voice cracked. "I don't know what this is, but when I look at you, I remember things that don't belong to the dead. I remember skin, warmth, a kiss." She felt the heat rise in her throat. "Don't," she whispered, but she didn't move away. His fingers brushed hers again, just a whisper of a touch, but her whole body reacted. Every nerve lit up, craving more. A zombie couldn't feel love, couldn't feel desire. But Elian looked at her like she was sunlight, and she was slowly, helplessly, leaning toward the dark. Their lips were inches apart when a sound shattered the silence. A scream from Camp Ember. Lena turned, heart pounding. "Elian," she breathed. But he was already fading into the trees. Something was wrong back at camp, and the line between love and danger was about to be crossed. The scream tore through the night like a blade through silence. Lena sprinted through the forest, heart hammering. The trees whipped past her as branches scratched her arms. Her mind raced faster than her feet. Was it an attack? A breach? Or something worse? When she reached Camp Ember, chaos had already erupted. Tasha was dragging a bleeding Zane into the infirmary, his leg torn open from thigh to calf. Kara was sobbing uncontrollably beside him, her hands smeared with blood. Dex and Maya were shouting over one another, while Jesse stood on the sniper tower, scanning the woods through his scope. "What happened?" Lena gasped. "A shadow grabbed him," Kara cried. "It wasn't like the others. It watched us first." "It was waiting," Zane groaned, teeth clenched in pain. "It wasn't hungry. It whispered something." Lena's blood ran cold. "What did it whisper?" she asked. Zane's eyes met hers. "Your name." The air went still. Everyone turned to Lena. Kyle stepped forward, arms crossed, jaw clenched. "Care to explain?" "I don't know what that means," Lena said carefully, but her throat had gone dry. Kyle didn't believe her. She could feel it in his stare. Neither did Jesse. Later that night, Lena sat by the fire, alone. The flames flickered against her skin, but couldn't melt the chill inside her. "Elian," she whispered to the wind, "what are you doing?" She felt drawn to him, but Zane's injuries had shaken her. Was Elian changing? Or was there something else, another like him, but far darker? She slipped out of the camp and returned to the woods. Elian was already there. He stepped from behind a tree, his face grim. "You're hurt," he said, noticing the scratches on her arms. "You followed me back to camp," she accused. "Why?" "I didn't," Elian said quickly. "I swear it wasn't me." She looked into his eyes, searching for truth. What she saw there was not malice, but fear. "There are others like me," he said slowly. "But they haven't held on to their souls like I have. They remember, but the memories make them cruel." "You told me I was special," Lena whispered. "But Zane nearly died. Someone whispered my name." Elian stepped closer. "That's because they sense what I feel. They're drawn to it. You're light. And in our world, light doesn't last long," his voice cracked. "They'll come for you, not because they want you, but because I do." Lena's breath caught. "You love me," she said, more a statement than a question. He hesitated, then nodded once. "I don't know what to call it," he said. "But when I'm near you, I remember what it means to be alive. My heart beats, my mind clears, my body aches to feel you." She stepped back, overwhelmed by the intensity in his voice. "I shouldn't feel this," she said. "You shouldn't either." And yet we do. A long silence fell between them. Then Lena reached out, against all reason, and brushed her fingers along his jaw. It was rough, cold, but not repulsive. Her hand lingered, their eyes met, not as human and monster, but as two souls standing on the edge of something forbidden. "Elian," she whispered, "what happens if I choose you?" He swallowed hard. "Then you'll have to fight. Not just the world, but everyone you love." From deep in the forest, a long, low growl broke the silence, followed by another. Then, footsteps. Dozens of them. Slow, deliberate, the others were coming. And Lena's heart whispered what her mind dared not say. "I'm not ready to lose him." Camp Ember was no longer calm. Fear moved through its people like a sickness. Zane was alive, but his wound festered despite every remedy. Nora and Jesse had doubled the night watch. Maya started sleeping with a blade under her pillow. And Kyle? Kyle was watching Lena like a hawk. He knew something was wrong. He'd known Lena for years, before the outbreak, before everything went to hell. She was changing. Quiet, distracted, distant. She didn't look at him the way she used to. Her eyes were searching for someone else. Kyle didn't know the name, but he could feel the shape of the secret in her silence. Lena sat at the edge of the camp, her knees pulled to her chest as she watched the tree line. She hadn't seen Elian since the night Zane was attacked. Something about his warning, "They'll come for you," haunted her more than she wanted to admit. She'd always been brave. Strong. But now, she was torn between two worlds. A world where she could be safe, and a world where she could feel. She touched her lips, remembering how close they'd come to a kiss. The memory alone sent a chill down her spine, and a warmth through her chest. That evening, Dex and Jesse found something buried in the woods. A corpse. Human. Freshly killed, but not by a zombie's bite. This one had its throat torn out, too clean, too surgical. Worse, a symbol carved into the body's chest. A spiral. Nora examined it, pale and furious. "This is ritualistic," she muttered. "This wasn't hunger. This was a message." Lena's heart sank. "Elian," she whispered to herself, "what have you done?" But deep down, she knew. It wasn't him. It was the others. She waited until nightfall and slipped past the gate. Elian was already waiting in the clearing, his hands stained with dirt, his shoulders heavy with guilt. "You saw the body," he said. Lena nodded. "It wasn't you, was it?" "No," Elian said, voice tight. "But it was one of them. I tried to stop him." "What are they?" Elian looked away. "We were once like you. Then the infection came. Most became monsters. A few remembered. But memory twisted us. Some of us learned to hunger not for flesh, but for fear, for control." Lena stepped closer, staring up at him. "And you?" "I hunger for you," he said simply, his voice cracked. "When I'm near you, I forget what I've become. You make me want to live, even if I no longer can." Her heart beat faster. Elian took her hand gently. His touch was colder now, but careful, like she was something sacred, something fragile. "They won't stop," he whispered. "Not until they find you, or until I give you up." Lena shook her head. "I won't run." "You should, but I won't. She leaned in, and this time, she kissed him. His lips were rough, but his kiss was tender, desperate, grateful. The dead weren't supposed to feel, but he did, and Lena, for the first time in months, felt alive. But behind them, in the trees, something moved, watching, waiting, and it would not be kind. Lena didn't sleep that night. Not after what she had done. Not after the kiss. Her lips still tingled with the memory of Alien's, the gentleness, the ache behind it, the way he trembled as if afraid she'd disappear, and maybe she should have disappeared, because loving him wasn't just forbidden, it was deadly. But no matter how she tried to convince herself, the truth refused to stay buried. She wanted him. Not just his touch or his voice, but the pieces of humanity he still carried. The way he saw her, the way he spoke her name like it was the last thing he'd ever say. Back in Camp Ember, silence lingered like fog. Everyone felt the weight of what was coming. Zane's condition was worsening, and now the symbol found on the corpse had been carved onto one of the perimeter trees. Bold and deliberate. They were being hunted. But by what? Kyle confronted her that morning. "You've changed," he said quietly, blocking her path as she walked toward the water tank. "I'm tired," she replied. "No, it's more than that." His eyes searched hers. "Where do you go at night?" Lena's breath caught. "I walk," she lied. Kyle's expression darkened. "You're hiding something, Lena, and I'm gonna find out what it is." Before she could answer, Jesse shouted from the tower, "Movement in the trees." Everyone ran. Lena's heart sank. They came. Dozens of them stood at the tree line, half shrouded in shadow, skin like ash, eyes glowing faintly under the setting sun. They didn't rush. They didn't groan. They watched, unmoving, waiting. Maya loaded her rifle. "What the hell are they?" "Not biters," Jesse said. "Too organized. Too still." Nora narrowed her eyes. "This is a message." One of the creatures stepped forward, a tall, gaunt figure with deep scars and a missing nose. On its bare chest was the same spiral symbol. It opened its mouth. A whisper escaped, soft, chilling. "Lena!" Everyone froze. Lena's stomach dropped, her name. Again, Jesse turned toward her. "Why do they know your name?" She couldn't speak. Then the figure stepped back, and all the others melted into the trees like mist. No attack, no blood, just fear, thick and suffocating. That night, Lena waited at the edge of the forest. "Alien," she whispered. He emerged, slower this time. Sadder. "You saw them," he said. "They knew my name." "They want to break me," Alien said. "They see my feelings for you as weakness. They want to unmake it. Can they?" "Only if I let them," he said, stepping closer. She reached for him. "Don't," he warned. "Every time you touch me, it gets harder to protect you, to let you go. I don't want you to let go, but if I don't, they'll come for you again. They'll tear down your camp, kill your friends, or worse, turn them." She stared into his cloudy eyes. "Then we fight." "You don't know what they are," Alien whispered. "They've forgotten love, twisted it into hunger. You remind them of what they've lost, and they hate you for it." "Let them come," Lena said. "Let them see I'm not afraid." Alien stepped closer, cupping her cheek with a trembling hand. "You should be." This time she kissed him first, longer, deeper, as if it could save them both. But behind her, in the woods, eyes blinked open, dozens of them, watching. And one in particular, taller, cloaked in rotten shadow, smiled, not with love, but with possession. The curse had begun. The next morning, Camp Ember felt different, quieter, colder. The usual banter over breakfast was gone. Even the children stayed near their tents, silent and wide-eyed. No one talked about the creatures in the woods, but everyone felt them, like a curse in the wind, a threat in every shadow. Lena hadn't told anyone about her kiss with a lion. She hadn't told them about the warnings either. And now, the secret was rotting inside her, poisoning everything she touched. Jesse called an emergency meeting. "We can't sit and wait to be picked off," he said. "These things are evolving. They aren't like the walkers, they're intelligent." "They're planning something," Maya agreed. "Maybe even coordinated attacks." Kyle stood beside them, arms folded tightly. "We need to find out what they want, or who they want." His eyes found Lena, and stayed there. Lena's breath caught. "I'll lead a scouting group into the woods," Kyle continued. "We find their den. We hit them before they hit us." "I'm going with you," Lena said too quickly. Everyone turned to her. "You sure?" Maya asked. "You haven't been yourself lately." "I'm fine," Lena said, jaw tight. If something's out there, I want to see it with my own eyes. And she needed to see a lion, to know if he was still fighting or if the darkness had already taken him. That night, Kyle pulled her aside. "Lena," he said softly, "I know you're hiding something. I can feel it. We used to be honest with each other." She looked away. "This is different. Then tell me what's going on, please, before it's too late." She opened her mouth, closed it. What could she say? "I kissed a zombie. I'm falling for the enemy. I'm not afraid of him. I'm afraid of what I do to protect him." "I'll tell you everything," she said finally, "after the scouting mission." Kyle nodded, but his eyes held doubt, and maybe a trace of heartbreak. The first crack had formed, and by the time it split wide open, it would be too late to turn back. Lena moved through the trees beside Kyle, Jesse, and Maya, their steps silent and weapons drawn. Cold air clung to their skin like fog. Every broken twig beneath their boots felt like a warning. They were deep in enemy territory now, following strange markings carved into bark, spirals, slashes, symbols in a language no human had written. Lena knew where they were going. She recognized the trees, the stones. Alian had once brought her this far, then told her never to return, and now she was leading others straight to it. Her heart pounded with guilt. They reached a clearing. Dead vines draped over a massive hollow tree. Beneath it, an entrance, black and gaping. The den. Jesse lit a flare. Its red light flickered over bones, tattered cloth, and claw marks carved into stone. "This is a nest," Kyle whispered. "No," Lena said. "It's a throne room." She didn't mean to say it. The words slipped out like a memory not her own. A deep growl echoed from the darkness. Then they came. Not walkers, not wild biters. These were fast, silent. Their eyes gleamed like wet glass. Their hands held knives. One leapt from the shadows. Maya shot first. It dropped, but another took its place. Screams filled the night. Kyle fought back to back with Jesse, blades clashing with claws. Blood, human and undead, splashed across tree roots. Then a voice called out, "Enough!" Everything froze. The creature stopped, and from the shadows, a lion emerged. His face was bruised, one eye swollen, his shirt torn. Chains dragged from his wrists, broken. "They tried to keep me from you," he said, eyes on Lena, "but I remembered what it means to fight." Kyle aimed his gun. "Get back!" "No!" Lena shouted, stepping between them. Jesse's eyes widened. "Lena, what are you doing?" "Saving us," she said. "He's not like them." Alian stood beside her now, his chest heaving. "But he is." He pointed into the den, and a towering figure stepped forward, cloaked in rotting flesh and shadows. The others parted for him like wind through grass. "The leader?" Alian whispered. "He was the first, the one who turned us. And now, he wants to turn you, Lena." She gripped Alian's hand. "Then let him try." Because love had already turned her into something new, and she was ready to fight for it. The forest trembled as the Ancient One stepped forward. He was unlike the others, taller, older, his rotting form cloaked in blackened bone and tangled vines. His eyes glowed silver in the dark, and when he spoke, the trees seemed to bend in fear. "You've betrayed your blood, Elian," the creature rasped. "For what? For a beating heart?" Elian pulled Lena closer. "For the one thing you've forgotten, love." The Ancient One hissed, his voice like tearing flesh. "Love is a weakness, a lie that dies with the body." "No," Lena said, stepping forward. "Love is the reason I haven't turned into a monster like you." The creature laughed, a guttural, twisted sound. Then he lunged. The clearing exploded into chaos. The undead swarmed, moving like shadows with blades. Maya and Jesse opened fire, holding the line. Kyle fought savagely beside them, eyes burning with confusion and fury. "Elian!" Lena cried. Elian met the Ancient One head-on. They clashed like titans, rotting strength against fierce will. Bones cracked, claws slashed. Elian fought with desperation, every strike fueled by his love for Lena. But the Ancient One was stronger. He lifted Elian by the throat, fangs bared. "You forgot your place." "No." Elian choked. "I found it." And Lena struck. She drove a wooden stake through the creature's back, deep and true. The Ancient One howled, spinning toward her. That's when Elian grabbed the spiral blade from his fallen kin and plunged it into the monster's heart. A blinding flash. The creature screamed, limbs thrashing, body turning to ash. And then, silence. The others, the twisted undead, collapsed around them. Without their leader, the curse broke. Their minds crumbled, their bodies stilled. Elian collapsed to his knees. Lena ran to him, pulling him into her arms. "You did it," she whispered, tears falling. "You chose me." Elian smiled faintly. I chose us. His skin was changing, pale giving way to warmth, the rot fading, the infection lifting. Whatever bound him to the dead had died with the Ancient One. Elian gasped. I feel heat. He touched his own chest. His heart thumped once, then again. Lena's mouth trembled. You're alive. And then she kissed him, this time not as a secret, not in shame, but in celebration. Behind them, the others watched, Maya, Jesse, even Kyle, speechless. The war was over. But the story, it had just begun. Weeks passed. The forest slowly healed. Camp Ember stood stronger than ever, but not just in walls and weapons, stronger in spirit. The horrors of the undead attack had left scars, but also something else, unity. Understanding. A belief that maybe, just maybe, love could outlast even death. Lena walked through the garden they had started together. The soil was dark and rich now, no longer cursed. Flowers bloomed beside growing vegetables. It was quiet here, peaceful. And behind her, warm arms wrapped around her waist. Elian, alive, fully alive. His heartbeat was steady, his skin no longer cold. Whatever curse had infected him, the death of the Ancient One had shattered it completely. The infection had died with its creator. Still don't believe it? He whispered into her hair. Lena leaned into his touch. Sometimes I wake up thinking it was a dream. Then I'll keep reminding you, Elian said, kissing her cheek. Kyle, though heartbroken, had forgiven her. He had seen the truth, the humanity in Elian's eyes, the love that was real. He'd stayed, become part of the council, a leader in his own way. Jesse and Maya, they were finally open about their feelings, often found walking hand in hand along the rebuilt fence. Even Nora had begun smiling again. Zane had recovered, slowly, but the symbol carved into his chest remained, faint but forever etched. Reminders of a war survived. At night, Lena and Elian would sit on the rooftop staring at the stars. I never thought I'd get a second life, Elian once said, let alone with someone who made me feel more human than I ever did alive. She had smiled, resting her head on his chest. You saved me, Elian, not the other way around. And he believed it, because love had done what no cure ever could. It had brought him back from the edge. Some stories end in death, some in survival. But theirs began with a kiss between a zombie and a human and ended in a heartbeat shared between two souls who refused to let go, even when the world did. What if a zombie could feel love? What if a human was brave enough to love back? In a world built on fear, betrayal, and death, love became the only cure. From forbidden kisses in the dark to a war that threatened to tear them apart, Elian and Lena defied the impossible and proved that even the undead can remember what it means to feel. But this is more than just a zombie romance. It's a haunting reminder that the heart remembers what the mind forgets. If you believe in love that survives the apocalypse, in second chances after death, and in hope rising from horror, then subscribe to the Zombie Story Zone for more chilling, thrilling, and heart-pounding tales that blend romance, terror, and twisted beauty. Leave a comment below. Would you risk your life to love someone already lost to death? Turn on notifications. The next story might just awaken a new kind of monster, or a new kind of love. Because here, the dead don't just walk, they feel.
In the shadows of the night, where the moonlight glows, the zombies lurking everywhere, that's how the story goes. Grab your gear, hold on tight, it's a wild